Hello, thank you for watching. This is going to be my fourth video, I believe, in the video series. And I'm going to be discussing pleasure and fulfillment and how to differentiate the two and why people may seem depressed in life and they're just totally unaware why. And the reason will most likely be tied to what I'm about to explain because a lot of people don't know how to differentiate the two, or they just simply just don't know of the two. They simply just think feeling good is feeling good, and that's that. um Pleasure seeking is like the most common, and it's also the easiest, and that's what most people do, and that's what man children do as well in the beginning, because like I was talking about, they can't really support themselves emotionally. Most people just rely on like a quick fix or a consistent fix, like possibly playing video games 15 hours a day, or whatever, or drugs. It could be drugs, alcohol, video games, pornography. That would be considered pleasure seeking, and that's a big one for people when they're in their comfort bubble of their own home. They don't leave the house, and all they do is jerk off all day, watch porn, um, yeah, play video games all day, and they just never leave their room. And the problem with pleasure is that once you have some pleasure, it's not very long lasting. Pleasure doesn't it you feel the high and then it goes away and you need more. So you either need to do it all the time or you need to do it all the time. Like there's just no other way. You're just gonna feel bad otherwise. You're like, I feel terrible. And a lot of the time people will get burnt out doing their pleasurable activities. So not only then are they burned out and can't feel anything, what they're doing is completely bored, and then they start to feel depressed, like they don't know what's wrong with their life, and what they're normally doing is not very fun anymore, and they might try to abstain so that when they do it the next time it actually might feel good. It's like literally like drugs, right? It's like a dopamine addiction. So most people are pleasure seekers. Now, the problem with being a pleasure seeker and only a pleasure seeker and experiencing zero fulfillment in life, which I will get to what fulfillment is in a second, is that you're in an existential vacuum. And what that means is you're in a space in life, basically, with your particular life, actually, where your life has no meaning. You're simply just seeking pleasure. You're not really doing anything with your life. You're just trying to feel good all the time. And that's like pleasure seeking. Now, what would fulfillment be? How could you get a fulfilled feeling where you feel like you've accomplished something and have affected the world positively, made other people's lives better, just simply because you're doing something, right? And I'll tell you what that something is. See, when I read the most important book I've ever read in my life, which was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, long story short, it's a good read and I recommend reading it, but I'm going to summarize it right now. Is that basically to give living, being alive is suffering, okay? And now when you're alive and suffering, how what you do while you're suffering is up to you. So life doesn't give you anything, life doesn't owe you anything to like make you feel good, okay? This is going somewhere and it sounds a little weird at first, but it's kind of hard to articulate sometimes and I lose my train of thought. But basically, in life, people always ask, what is the purpose of life? They say, or then they'll say, what is the meaning of my life? And they're actually two different things, okay? The purpose of life is to live. You've been given a privilege to be alive. You have conscious thought. You have emotions. You can feel. You have been given the privilege to be alive. To be alive, and everybody else is alive. That's their privilege, is to live, to be alive. To I'm alive. This is the purpose of life. I'm being alive. Life is simply a playground. You can think of it as like, I don't know, in a context like video game, like a video game world, and like a sandbox game, and like whatever you do inside it is up to you. Life is simply just a playground to be alive, okay? Life. Now, that's the purpose of life. Okay, so now the meaning that you give your life is up to you. Everybody's meaning is different. See, how you give your life meaning is by bearing responsibility. And this is tied into Friedrich Nietzsche. He who has a why to live can bear it with almost any how. Okay? And this was the basis of logotherapy for Viktor Frankl when he was kept at the concentration camps during World War II. When he was a doctor there studying everybody's mental status as they were depleting, and like, oh, I can't go on. And he watched a lot of people die, and he watched a lot of people actually survive. And he said the difference between the two was that everybody who lived had a responsibility that they needed to get back to. Most of it being their family in a different country. And these guys had a why to live. So they bared with almost anyhow, right? So like the anyhow was being at the concentration camp. So it was like, well, I'm going to stay alive because they had a why. And the bullshit that was holding them down and making them suffer was the concentration camp. And so what Viktor Frankl figured out is that responsibility is what actually triggers fulfillment in humans. Okay? It's very important to know this. Bearing responsibility, and I can tell you why. It is because when you have a responsibility, that means other people rely on you. Now, if it's a personal responsibility, it means you rely on yourself. But if you have a normal responsibility, that means other people rely on you. So you are supposed to be doing something where people are expected that you will do it because it affects the rest of them. Like if you're working at work, and if you're a bar back and you need to get the bartender something, and then the bartender can't do something because you haven't brought it out and they're running low on it or whatever, people depend on you. It's your responsibility. And so by bearing responsibility, you positively affect those around you and those who count on you. And then in turn, because you positively affect them, now their life is better and they can do what they want, and then they positively affect the world. And so basically it's kind of like a chain reaction that when you have responsibility, you're positively affecting the world and those people around you. And that's what actually gives you fulfillment, is by bearing responsibility and taking care of it. That's how you become a fulfilled person, and that's how you leave what is called an existential vacuum. You could even say comfort bubble and all that other bullshit where you're just pleasure seeking. I need to get drunk. I need to get high. I need to get drunk. I need to play games, all day. Dopamine. And as soon as you stop and you have nothing else to go to in life, I got to go right back to my drugs. I got to go right back to my game. And so you're just an addicted pleasure seeker at that point. So when people, especially I think, are addicted to something, the biggest thing that they can do, well, if it's not a substance, like let's talk about video game addiction. So video game addiction, for example, they say, well, you got to fill up your time with other hobbies instead of games. But what happens is most of the time, what hobbies are, they're basically just other pleasures. But the thing with hobbies, though, is they yield a lot less dopamine than, say, video games, right? Or it depends what it is, but I would say most would. Video games are very stimulating. So when you switch and try to fill up the rest of your time with hobbies, you're just going to fucking relapse again because it's just all pleasure. It's all dopamine stuff. If you really want to make gains in life and get away from something like video game addiction, you need to fill up your spare time that you now have free from stopping games with responsibilities, okay? And that could be like work, school, maybe your kids. You should be taking care of your kids if you have kids. That's a huge responsibility that can be very fulfilling, right? You have a responsibility to take care of your child. And because you're giving your child care, right? You're giving your child care. And since your child has care, your child now feels good and is living a more positive life because you're taking care of your responsibility of being a parent. And you're giving your child a better life, and you get to see your child smile, okay? That's one example of bearing responsibility and feeling fulfillment. And it's very important that people understand that when people say, I have nothing left to expect from life, that is wrong. And that's what Viktor Frankl said in his book. He said that what people should really be thinking is, what does life have to expect from me? Because like I said, life is simply a playground to live. Life owes you nothing. It's you who decides what you want to do with your life, how you want to positively affect the world, and by doing so, to positively affect the world, you bear responsibilities where other people depend on you, and you can positively affect them. Okay, that is the difference between fulfillment and pleasure seeking. Fulfillment is bearing responsibility, and pleasure seeking is, well, it's pleasure seeking, like I said. Drugs, alcohol, video games, porn, gambling. A lot of those things there's a lot of easy shit that people do. So it's very important to differentiate the two and be able to do that, because if you're just pleasure seeking and you have zero responsibilities, you're in an existential vacuum. And another thing that he said about Viktor Frankl said about existential vacuums is that the libido runs rampant. You actually jerk off and masturbate even more and watch even more porn when you live in a comfort bubble and have zero responsibilities. Your libido will actually go more crazy, he said, because it's an easier way. It's a quick fix to be able to, because if you're doing a pleasurable activity and it's getting boring, then like another way you can just get pleasure quickly is just by, yanking it, right? Just go watch some porn real quick, and that'll always be there for you, readily available. And it's like your mind knows how much dopamine will be released when you watch porn, because it stores that memory in the hippocampus. And I learned that from addiction, from a YouTube video referring to a man named Dr. Montez, that the hippocampus actually stores in its memory like which activities yield the most dopamine. Your body knows which ones are the best. And sex or porn or masturbating is very high up there, and it's just an easy out to be able to get some pleasure quickly. So your libido will always run rampant in an existential vacuum. And like I said, an existential vacuum is basically a space without meaning, a space without responsibility, is the way Viktor Frankl explained it. So being able to differentiate between the two is important, because then you can allocate your time properly and be like, hey, I've been pleasure seeking too much. It's like, no wonder I can't support myself emotionally. I have nothing to look forward to. I haven't gotten my life anywhere. I haven't accomplished anything. I'm not taking on responsibilities and trying to be an adult. I'm just trying to seek pleasure all day long. And so when you learn to be able to differentiate between the two, you can allocate your time properly and be an adult and grow up and learn how to support yourself emotionally. Gaining fulfillment is a great way to even make you more stable. Remember how I talked about affecting your ego and molding your ego and learning how to take shots to your ego so that you become more emotionally stable? Well, think of fulfillment as an extra layer of protection over that emotional stability of having a strong ego. It's like even more strong. When you have a fulfilled life, plus you have a strong ego because you've learned to take shots to your ego and you've learned how to make yourself feel better. You're an even stronger person when you have fulfillment mixed with a strong ego. You're virtually impossible to take down. It's insane what you can accomplish. But yeah, that is basically the difference between pleasure and fulfillment. Very easy. And when I figured that out, it was turned my life upside down. I didn't, after I learned all this, I said there's just no way I could ever be depressed ever again, because I understand how to be happy. I understand about taking shots to my ego, and I understand about trying to bear responsibility so I can live a fulfilled life. And if you're somebody who avoids responsibility and has zero responsibility in life, a good way to start out is by taking care of personal responsibilities that you don't, like cleaning your room. For some people, maybe brushing their fucking teeth, or doing their laundry, or folding their laundry, rather, as well. Taking their car to get an oil change. Things that will directly affect your life and make your life more positive and less stressful, right? It's like, oh, your car broke down. It's like, well, do you ever change your oil? It's like, no, I don't. Well, yeah, you should be taking care of that responsibility. Now you feel bad because you didn't. But when you do your homework, that's also another personal responsibility where you're like, wow, I got my homework done and now I have free time and I feel great and I don't have to worry about it later. And I'm going to get a good grade, which will directly affect my career path and help me get ahead in life. And taking care of those small personal responsibilities, like in school, will also help you. And then once you get good at taking care of personal responsibilities, you can move on to actual responsibility where not only you depend on it, but other people are affected. And that's where the real fulfillment comes into play because then you're giving back to life. And that's how it works. So thank you for watching my video. I hope you liked it. Thank you. All right, that was the outro. We're done. Now I can edit the video. I started. Okay, so it was 16 minutes. Roughly 16 minutes. Not bad. Roughly 16 minutes. Yeah. Bearing responsibility. Genato. Exactly. That's how you give meaning to your life. I heard one example said it was like I heard one example was like, what if you're a sleigh dog with no sled to pull? You're bored. You're doing nothing. You have nothing to do. You sit around like, ugh. So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna seek pleasure because you got nothing else to do. But when you bear responsibility, keep yourself busy. Now you're busy, but you're also positively affecting the world around you, and that's what makes you feel good. And especially when you take care of a responsibility that's also a personal responsibility, then it's like double whammy. That is how you give your life meaning, is by bearing a responsibility. Believe it or not, it's that simple. And like I said, when I figured that out, there's just no way that I could ever be depressed for the rest of my life. And I don't ever think I will be. Because I understand how feeling good works. I understand what it's like to damage the ego and rebuild it, and remold your ego, and learn to take shots to your ego, and then you learn how to make yourself feel better. And then on top of that, you can bear responsibility, which gives another layer of consistent feel good because the feel good that you're getting is fulfillment. It's not pleasure. And fulfillment is longer lasting. It's different than pleasure. They might feel the same and good, but like fulfillment is different. It's definitely different. I don't know what kind of chemical it would be in your head or whatever, but it's just more sustainable and more consistent, lasts longer. It's not like a quick high, like drugs, alcohol, or any of that other shit, like jerking off or whatever. Fulfillment is different, and it's done by bearing responsibility. Correct. Taking care of responsibilities and bettering your own life is where most gamer man children start out, and it's like, hey man, you're gonna have to start taking a shower. You're gonna have to start doing your homework. You're gonna have to start doing your laundry. You're gonna have to wash your car. You're gonna have to change your oil in your car. You're gonna have to go to the doctor. You're gonna have to go to the dentist, get your teeth taken care of so you don't have any cavities. It's very important to take care of personal responsibility. And so that's why I quit gaming. Was my personal responsibilities accrued. They built up over time. And so then when I looked at my life, I was escapism, right? In video games, escapism. And then whenever I got done playing games, I would be like, oh shit, I'm back to reality in my life. And I'm like, fuck, man, I got to take care of this. I got to do 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 this. And it was stressing me out. I was ignoring my personal responsibilities, not taking care of myself. And because I don't give care to myself, that means I feel bad. Because I'm not taking giving myself care. I'm not giving myself care, so now I feel bad. Does that make sense? Personal responsibilities are where people should start before they move on to actual responsibilities. And I'm referring to man children who need help. Oh, okay, yeah. That's great. Good for you. I know a lot of people have been on painkillers or antidepressants and stuff like that, and they're just terrible for you. Okay? They don't cure the problem. And so here's the thing, is a lot of people, the problem is a lot of people get stuck in an existential vacuum and they only pleasure seek. And they burn themselves out, their dopamine receptors are burned the fuck out. They're not taking care of any personal responsibilities, any responsibility at all. And then they go, I'm depressed. Because they're so fucking burnt out from the drugs that they're doing, right? So they go, I'm depressed. I play video games 15 hours a day. I smoke weed all day. I drink all day. And I don't have a girlfriend. And I'm depressed. And then they go to the psychiatrist or somebody. They go see somebody and they go, I'm depressed. And then they talk to them about maybe their personal life and their upbringing, which is all correct. You need to talk about that. But what happens is, when they go to the psychiatrist, they lie to the psychiatrist. Sir, do you do any drugs? No, no way. What do you do? I play some video games here and there. Oh, do you drink or do any drugs or anything? No, don't do any of that. So what happens is you're lying to the psychiatrist. So now he's making a flawed diagnosis on you. And now he's going to give you antidepressants, which is going to fuck with your chemicals even more in your brain, your serotonin especially, right? And your dopamine. Well, it's going to fuck with your serotonin. And then if you're getting high serotonin and high dopamine at the same time, I've been told that's a bad thing. And people with high serotonin and high dopamine end up in jail, is what I heard from Dr. Montez when I listened to his lecture on addiction. So yeah, lying to the psychiatrist is like one of the worst things you could fucking do. And that's how you get a misdiagnosis, and that's how you make your addiction worse, is by lying. And so that's what people do, is they get into an existential vacuum, they burn themselves out with pleasures, and cry that they're depressed. But they don't want to take care of themselves. They don't want to take care of their personal responsibilities. No. Fuck that. Things that would actually improve their life. Or actual responsibility where they can improve other people's life. They're like, nah, fuck that. I'm only going to do pleasurable activities and then complain I'm depressed. I don't get it. I understand it too much. I find it impossible to be depressed. Because I understand. And so if I do feel bad, it doesn't beat me up. I go, look, I got to get active here. I got to start taking care of myself. And then I get proactive and I take care of myself. And I'm like, yes, I got my wisdom teeth pulled out. I went and got my car fixed. I'm actually going doing my homework. And I'm feeling better in life. I'm accomplishing things. And I know how to feel good. So it's impossible for me to be depressed. And I haven't felt sad since 2018, October. On a more personal note, I would wound up over focusing on non-personal responsibilities. Very easy to stay up all night painting a kid's room instead of sleeping. How much I used to work. I wanted money to put away, but I wound up with no me time, no family time. A big lesson I learned. So a big lesson I learned was it is easy to forget to take care of yourself, man, and working for others. So yes, that can also make you feel bad. When you have too much responsibility, right? And you're ignoring your personal responsibilities, which will make you feel bad. You might be making other people feel good, but you need to take care of personal responsibilities and actual responsibility away from home and stuff. And then you'll be a very whole, fulfilled person, right? And that's what being an adult is about. Do you think a woman wants to marry or have kids or sleep or even get a boyfriend who sits in an existential vacuum inside a comfort bubble all day at his computer for 16 hours a day, jerking off, playing video games, and doing nothing else but pleasures? He won't take care of himself, and he won't take care of any other responsibilities outside of the house. What does that tell the woman? I'm not gonna fucking date you. I'm not gonna marry you. I'm not gonna have kids with you. Grow up and learn to take care of responsibility. And then the guys wonder why they don't have a fucking girlfriend. You don't leave the house, and you're stuck in an existential vacuum all day because it's the easiest way to numb your pain. It's the most pleasurable activity. I got caught in that trap for years. I understand it. Not because I read about it. I fucking experienced it. Like, I'm a speedrunner. I'm a degenerate. Trust me, I know what it's like to be a degenerate. I would play all fucking day. Yes, Brody. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. That's cool, man. I did keep my computer, and that was a big decision I had to make. And I said, you know what? I uninstalled every game I had, and I said, I want my computer. It's too good of a computer. I want my computer. Because then I said, if I get back into streaming or something, which I'm streaming now, I'll have it, and it's a great computer, and my stream bought it for me, and it would just make me feel terrible if I wasn't using this great computer that my stream actually bought for me. If you scroll down, you can see everybody who threw in money for my computer. They're great people, and it felt like a punch in the gut to ever try to get rid of it, and I said, you know what, I just can't do it. I love my computer too much. It was a present, and it would just be terrible to not use it. So I decided to... Is this monitor lower than the other one? I decided to keep it. Okay, never mind. But yeah, that's how it works, guys. That's how it works. Oh shit. Did this thing? Oh, it did fucking fuck up a little bit. So yeah, that's how that works, guys. Responsibility, fulfillment. That was some real talk that I agree with. What's up, TB? How you been? Good, long time no see. I have to game SR, so I just feel like my day has been fulfilled. Having a computer is necessity these days. TB, how are you? Thanks, EverX. Did you listen to my whole talk? You just got back from work? Well, don't worry. I'll upload it to YouTube. You know what? I might just upload the entire talk after that.